Awesome. So we're all here to talk about all things collegiate baton twirling. And I'm so excited to have all these panelists from all across the United States and different levels of baton twirling and different organizations to kind of talk through their experience. And I hope you have a great time during this event. If you have any questions, feel free to use the raise hand function, or you can put your questions right in the chat and we'll answer it either there or we'll answer it live. My name is Olivia Lynch, and I am the president of the Black Baton Twirlers Network. And we're going to get started with our first, which is going to be our admissions panel. So I'm going to turn it over to Morgan, and she's going to start by introducing herself, and the other panelists can do that as well.
Alrighty, hi everybody. My name is Morgan Bodner. I am in northwestern Pennsylvania in a small town called Greenville, PA. Right now, basically right between Erie and Pittsburgh, to give you guys a little bit of an idea where I'm at. And you get to hear from me today because I have a few roles when it comes to this topic. My full-time job is I am one of our assistant directors of admissions at Thiel College here in Greenville, Pennsylvania. I recently, just in the last month or so, have made a transition from working with undergraduate students to graduate students through their admissions process. So kind of knowing both roles of the college admissions world when it comes to that. So if you have any questions there, but I've been twirling for about 25 years since I was like 4 years old, whatever that equals out to be. Everything from, group, solo competitive to on a football field. And I'm our advisor at Thiel College, as well as one of our local high schools as well too. So that's how you get me here today. So thanks very much for joining us. Who's next here on our, to introduce himself? Rebecca?
Yes. Hello, I'm Rebecca Lance, and I'm with Arizona State University. I am the coach and recruiter for them right now. This is my second year doing it, and we're actually settling down our audition process for this year right now. But I also went to ASU and twirled for them for 4 years, and I too have been twirling since I was about 2.5, 3, around there. And I did competitive to the max, and then I started twirling for marching bands in middle school, and then I did it in high school. I did the Rose Parade a couple of times, and then I made it to ASU, and so that's why I'm here today. And then, yeah, so next is Kaylee Williams.
Actually, I don't know that Kaylee is here, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Kaylee Mickey McIntosh. I am the baton twirling coach for the University of Houston. I actually was the baton twirling coach for Southern Methodist University previously, back when I lived in Dallas, and that's actually where I twirled. So I have experience both at a private university and at a public university. Not only did I twirl at SMU, I twirled all the way growing up. Similar to Rebecca, I started twirling in junior high school on the field. And interestingly enough, I marched in high school, so I played an instrument, and I also twirled. I did that in college as well. I didn't march on the field, but I played in the basketball band because I wanted more scholarship because private school is expensive. So not only did I twirl during football season, but I also played in the band for basketball season.
Awesome. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. And I think the biggest thing when you're thinking about college is like, where do you get started? Like, how do you keep track of everything? What are things to look at when you're looking at colleges? So we can just kind of start there with the admission process, and how do we make it so it's not daunting?
I say I'll start with that one there. I typically recommend that students ask themselves a few questions. Do you want to stay close to home, or do you want to go far away that you need the plane in order to get there? That will either roll out schools or include them in, very easily. Also, as well, I'm sure this doesn't surprise you, but what are you looking to study? And please note, I am actively saying I'm trying to not say, what are you majoring in? Yes, that is a big factor, but many students do change their major at least once. So you have to have an idea and a thought process of what you're trying to study and where you want to be in order to get there. It doesn't have to be that you want to study business, you know, and then you switch to nursing or something like that. Know some things that interest you in order to see and narrow down then those colleges and universities. I also then too say very strongly of, do you want to be in a city or a rural area? Do you want a big school, small school, or medium school? And then what else do you want to do? You know, right? You're here because you want to twirl in college. So, you know, that would be something I would say look for in a school whenever you're going down your list. But if you know that you want to be active in other clubs and organizations as well too, or other sports teams or anything like that, make sure that they have those, because those are some big key things for you to enjoy your time while you're in at your college or university.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Anybody else have any advice about going about looking at colleges? Is tours a good thing? Should you visit every school that you're interested in? How do you narrow it down?
So I actually suggest, yes, you should visit schools. My situation was unique in the fact that I knew where I wanted to go to college when I was like in 7th grade, because the twirler that I looked up to went to that school, and I was going to do whatever I could to be exactly like her. And so, like, I don't know how it worked out. I think I'm like a very unique case in the fact that where I wanted to go is where I ended up. But for my students, one of my best students last year did not get her top 4 schools, and now she's ranked top 10 in the country. Like, you have to have contingency plans. You have to have an idea of not only what your first choice is, but your second, your third, your fourth. And to be honest, it's where she's happiest. I know she probably would not have been happier at any other university, and she's actually able to shine now. So the more you can kind of get an idea of an array of universities that you would be happy at, I think you just kind of start there. And I would say come up with like a top 5. That's a safe bet for me.
So for me, I had a similar situation where the school that I ended up at was the school that I wanted to go to for as long as I can remember, because the twirler that I looked up to was the twirler for this school. And in the end, I narrowed it down between 2 because college is very expensive. So I needed to look at which schools offered the most scholarships for the most different array of things. And like, my mom was actually really involved with everything. So she looked up even like the most random scholarships for whatever it was. So when I know that when I went to ASU, like our GPA requirement is 3.0. So if you have anything above that, you can get academic scholarships. And that's what helped me a lot. And then, so I narrowed it down between 2 schools in the end, and I did visit both of them, and I witnessed a game day. And ultimately, like, I just had the gut feeling that like I was meant to be at the school that I originally wanted to go to. But visiting alternative schools gave me that kind of perspective. So I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, why didn't I look around more? I already felt really settled in where I wanted to be, because oftentimes you can't be too focused too much on just the twirling program. Like, really look at the culture of the school, how the students are, what's the situation housing wise, because all of that goes into your experience. Like, can you walk to things? Would you need a car? Because if you have to fly there and then you end up needing a car, you're kind of trapped on campus. So look out for different factors like that. And then, yeah, and don't be afraid to change your plan as well, because I do know some twirlers who have had their heart set on going to certain schools, but that twirling program, it didn't end up taking them. And then they ended up being so happy at a different university where they got to be on the field. So just be aware of what you want.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, Rebecca, about, you know, it's not just about the academics, it's the total package of the school. You know, what type of student activities do they have, resources? If you don't know, I work at the University of Pittsburgh, and I deal with student services and working with students all the time. And the biggest thing I say when they are starting off is like, try to find something that you can get involved in. And that's honestly just going to a football game or getting to know your people that are living with you in your dorm or joining your local student alumni association, to just kind of get involved, get out there. So it's not as daunting as you think it is, but you just have to know where to look. And we kind of touched base on scholarships, but does anybody want to kind of talk through like what their experience was like? What can you do to find a scholarship? Because there's a lot of scholarships out there, and it's not just for academics. It honestly can be for your twirling. If you do something that you do as a hobby, how can people look for those types of scholarships?
I'll jump in here and talk a little broad, at least at first here. So first thing first, I would say definitely complete the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. I'd say that's your first easy go-to process or for the process here. And you'll create an FSA ID for you and your parent, and then fill out the FAFSA information. And the schools that you then list at the end will be able to give you a financial aid package that includes the full money that the institution, state and federal governments are able to provide you based on the information that you included. I'd say that's definitely your first go-to when it comes to that. I will say financially, please do keep an open mind. I repeat that every day. I work at a private institution. It is not cheap out of pocket in order to attend Teal. I can guarantee you that one, but I went there. So if I had to pay full price, I would have never gone there. I can guarantee you that. But you know, keep an open mind because there are merit scholarships. There's also scholarships that different institutions have. I will say, just speaking from my personal experience for some things here at Teal, not that I'm just trying to solely sell you on the Teal aspect, but we have things for if you visit during certain times of the year, you receive money. If you apply during certain times of the year, you receive money. If you're involved in certain activities, our majorettes, being that they're in marching band, they do receive $1,000 a year scholarship. You know, those types of things they add on, and they're not necessarily plastered all over the website. So keep an eye out for those at any institution, just in general there. And also to look at a website, and I can throw it in the chat. It's called fastweb.com. There are many scholarships out there. You create a profile on yourself, and it then gives you the scholarships that you meet requirements for, as well as there's an app you can download on your phone that's called Scholly, SCHOLLY. It's the same type of deal, just an app rather than just a straight website. So those are always go-tos that I refer students to.
And we have a question in the chat. Can you tell the 9th to 11th graders what the difference is between eligible for a university versus competitive for admission to possibly get in? And anybody can answer that one.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and answer that. What essentially I tell people who are applying to U of H or any of my kids that I teach, not only do you want to have good grades, you want to be involved in everything that you can. So I basically, if I would have just gotten onto grades, I would not have been able to go to the university that I attended. It's very competitive. But something that helped me is I was in a ton of different clubs. I did a bunch of volunteer work. So like, not to brag, I was like vice president of the Latin club because there were like 4 people in it, but it looked really impressive. When I said, okay, I started this club, I was in this club, I was in this club. To be honest, not that much time was required of me in the clubs that I was in, but I did that. Additionally, having as much volunteer activity that you can do, any way that you can give back to your community looks good on a resume. And essentially getting into college is essentially building your resume or similar in that sense. So kind of packing not just your grades and everything, but your overall resume is beneficial.
And that's super important. And one thing that we all have in common is that we twirl baton. And not many people know what that is. So make sure you add that in your admissions letter or an interview. Talk about that experience because it's unique. Not everybody can twirl a baton. It takes so many different skills, leadership, teamwork, being able to work with a lot of people, traveling a lot, and then juggling a lot of different things. So make sure when you are looking for scholarships or you're doing any interviews, make sure you mention that, because I don't think people really think about like, oh, I just twirl a baton, but it's like so many things that you do that you're not realizing, all these skills that you're building that you're going to be able to utilize in the rest of your life. Someone just asked, what do you do in a situation that two schools have their tryouts on the same day? Are schools typically important to work with students? Are they able to work with students on this?
So I will say, and Rebecca, you can join in too. If I were to have a kid that, had an audition on the exact same day, I would be more than happy to work with them. Now I know I had a student last year who could only do one in person and one virtual, so they were able to choose, but COVID was kind of a little bit different. I know I would be willing to, and several of the universities I know would be. At the same time, I would probably choose the one that you want to go to the most up front to kind of show like, I did make this choice to be here. But in general, like I know I would be willing to, and several friends that are also sponsors at different schools would as well, but it varies.
We find schools offer scholarships from twirling, and I don't know if we have like a full list. I know USTA was collaborating with a lot of universities to grab just information about auditions, but I don't think they have like broadened that search yet. I know that's something that BBTN is trying to do on our end and working with USTA with that list and contacting university officials to say like, hey, what opportunities, what scholarships are available? But as far as my knowledge, I don't think there's a full list.
How everybody
Yeah,
doing?
I agree.
Can y'all hear
I
me?
know that, oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut in front of you. I just want to jump on really quick to say I'm Cornelius Whitehead, and I am the majorette baton twirler at the coach at Virginia Union University here in Richmond, Virginia. And we have scholarships available for any high school students that are looking to come to Virginia Union University that's located in Richmond. I am the auxiliary director. I am the baton coach, and we have scholarship money available, and I have an increase in scholarship money this year for majorettes. So if anybody on this platform have a child or a student or a coach, send your students to me at Virginia Union University. I'm gonna accept them if their grades in good standing, and then we're gonna make it happen for them. I need twirlers. It's a dying sport in my area. We don't have a lot of majorettes, and I say majorette and I say twirler because they call them twirlers. I'm more of batons, and some people say, oh, twirlers. You know what I'm saying? So majorettes. We need majorettes. We're looking for majorettes. If you have them, send them my direction. I have money. I'm at Virginia Union University, located in Richmond, Virginia. Get those ladies to me. We want them. Okay.
That's awesome. My experience is that like right now, it seems a lot of just asking twirlers who currently go to school, but some schools, like for ASU, our scholarships vary between the twirlers, and you won't find out what we would give you until we offer you a position. And so that can depend on things from just the band budget that year. But let's say we offer you a scholarship and then the band budget changes the next year, your scholarship stays the same. So once you have it, it's not going to change. But when we offer it to you, it varies between person. So if you were to ask an ASU twirler, like, oh, what is your scholarship? They're not allowed to tell you, because we want people to come to our school based off of just wanting to go to the school and not necessarily because of the money. But it does vary from school to school because sometimes you just know. But I think the most direct way right now is just to ask whoever is in charge of that program.
Thank you. And we have time for one more question. Well, I'm sorry.
Can I answer Naya's question real fast?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring it up. So go ahead, Jen.
Okay, so Naya, I'm hoping saying you're right. I can break it. I was going to talk about this in the breakout session later, but I will give you a clear overview. I am probably the most unique college twirler of being told, no, we do not want a twirler with our marching band program. I have helped twirlers now that are twirling with their spirit programs or have found ways to twirl in student services with different organizations. There are ways.
We lost Jen.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. I live in Florida. It's horrible. The weather's out here weird. But there are ways to get scholarships, like I had mentioned, through NAIA schools that are often ways that you go in through a spirit program. There are ways that you can go in through athletics. I twirled with the pep band. And there are ways with starting a student organization that sometimes you can get funding that way for equipment or costumes. I have no problem, maybe Olivia's going to share our contact information. I'm willing to help the next generation, but I can tell you from someone who is in a unique position to where I was with an athletic department last year. Like Rebecca said, we cannot tell you our scholarships, but I had a budget issue. So my scholarship, I had a huge scholarship last year, but this year it did decrease due to budgeting. So that is possible though, only not because of my ability, but because of budgeting. However, this semester it did increase because my grades stayed at a 4.0 and I moved to student services, and I'll talk more about that later, but there is ways that my mother has always said, if you want something bad enough, never stop pursuing your dream. Sometimes you end up at a school you would have never thought of. I tell everybody it's not too late. So yes, we will talk more about that later. There's scholarship money you would never think of at universities. Sometimes people don't even apply for it. So I do appreciate, people on admissions, and, they gave good advice. But later in our breakout session, I will talk. If you come into mine that I'm on, I'll tell you about how you can start your own path to becoming twirling in college when the bands say no or there is no band.